Well, everybody, welcome to Mark Alford's Capital Recap. I'm your Congressman, Mark Alford, here to give you the latest from our nation's capital in Washington, D.C., and what's going on in the district and in Missouri. Hey, we're coming to you from Missouri's 4th Congressional District. In this episode, this is our in-district work period, primarily August. We are diving into really some heartfelt conversations that we had with Missouri 4th District folks. We're going to talk with some of the FFA student leaders. They recently visited Washington, D.C., came to our office. If you're not familiar with the Future Farmers of America, you should be. They do great work, and they are our future leaders. We're also going to hear from our heroes over at Missouri Task Force 1. They just got back after being deployed down to Texas because of the tragic flooding down there. We're going to dive into what they do and their trip to Texas. We're also going to talk about artificial intelligence with Congressman Jay Obernolte. Jay is a good friend of mine. He's from California, and he is one of the leaders in AI, really educating us in Congress about what AI is and what the future looks like. All of this and more is coming up. First, let's get right to our conversation with two standout Future Farmers of America students, Ryan and Ivy. They were recently in our office, 328 Cannon in Washington, D.C., and I had the honor of welcoming them and really several dozen FFA students to tour our office as they were in Washington, D.C., finding out how we get things done there.
So my name is Ryan Hagerman. I'm the State Secretary for the Missouri FFA Association. I come from the Versailles FFA chapter.
Hi, my name is Ivy Owell. I am from Lamont, Missouri, and I'm currently serving as the Missouri FFA State President. We are actually here in Washington, D.C. for State Officer Conference, but today we are visiting all of our legislators to help inform them on the National FFA Caucus. And we would like to say a big thank you to our Representative Mark Alford for being a member of the National FFA Caucus.
Well, thank you. It's an honor to be here. I'll share a little story with you. 2 years ago, we went to the state fair. I brought a Democrat named Jonathan Jackson to the state fair. He's from the south side of Chicago. He had never been to Sedalia, Missouri before. I wanted to show him what farmers did, what the FFA did to produce the food that they eat in Chicago. And we went to the FFA building, and he said, "What are all these kids doing running around in these blue corduroy jackets?" He met some of you guys, and he wanted to open a chapter in South Chicago. So you are really impressing a lot of people. What is for those who are watching right now who may not know what the FFA is all about? My dad, by the way, was an FFA sponsor, an ag teacher when I was growing up. What is the FFA all about?
So we are a student-led organization that focuses on both agriculture and leadership. So we know that agriculture is a huge industry here in the United States. We know that everybody needs to eat. So we're trying to support agriculture in every way we can by, getting agriculture into the schools, being able to teach people about that, increasing agricultural literacy, but also at the same time focusing on leadership. So being able to build communication skills, being able to build confidence in, young individuals so that they can go out and pursue careers not just in agriculture, but in any aspect of the United States and be successful at it and really grow the next generation of leaders in the world. That's what we believe in as an organization.
I've wanted to always give every FFA member the opportunity to grow and learn through the FFA. I come from a small rural school in a rural community, and I want to be an advocate for those in small schools and show them that they can do the things that the big schools can just as well.
Well, thank you so much for coming to Washington, D.C. Well, it was really amazing talking to Ryan and Ivy. And folks, FFA makes a positive difference in the lives of students by developing their potential to be the leaders of tomorrow. It also helps in their personal growth and career success through agriculture education. And really, agriculture is the backbone of Missouri. So we're so excited when every year, the FFA students come by and visit. They get to see Washington, come to our office, and we get to have a chat with them about their future. We're always happy to chat with them. All right, switching gears a little bit, I want to take time to highlight some heroes right here in Missouri's 4th Congressional District. You remember the tragic flooding down in Texas, right? Well, the Missouri Task Force 1, based out of the Columbia area in Boone County, they set out to serve alongside search and rescue partners from all over the world. FEMA activated them on July 7th, and on July 23rd, Missouri Task Force 1 arrived home to Boone County Fire Protection District headquarters. They logged 450 miles They included boats on the water, conducting searches of buildings and vehicles and large debris fields, searching for potential survivors, but most likely recovering bodies. Their efforts helped bring relief, recovery, and closure to all those families affected in this tragedy down in Texas. The team maintained high morale and operational efficiency throughout the deployment. And during the welcome home and debriefing, the team proudly wore green ribbons representing the camps of Camp Mystic in honor of the campers and counselors who were there in that devastating flooding. Our team was able to be there as they were greeted home, talk to some of the heroes who were deployed, and I want you to hear a little bit about their conversations. Here that is.
We saw green ribbons everywhere, and then we finally asked the question, well, what's that all about? Camp Mystic, which is the summer camp right there by the Guadalupe River that was devastated, and several young girls lost their lives from there. This is the green. This color green is the green of that camp. So in support of, in memory of, we wear these in pride.
My name's Matt Wilcox. I'm a rescue team manager with Missouri Task Force 1. It was a good deployment. I'm going to go pick up my kids from camp, and we're going to go get ice cream.
My name's Chris Alford, hazmat specialist on this deployment. Really good deployment, a lot of walking. A lot of people find a stick that's out, comfortable to walk with out there. A little customization, make it, mean a little bit more on this deployment. So.
Randy Sanders, Missouri Task Force 1, Task Force Leader. Well, we left on the 7th, I believe, and we rolled into the Texas area a day or so later, a couple days. We went right to work. We didn't have any downtime. We went down to get into our Division D, is what we searched. That's 10 miles of the Guadalupe River. We finished that later on in the week. It was a long stretch. It was very difficult for our personnel and our crews to get in that area with the water and the debris. It's probably most like no one's ever seen before. And it was hard for them. We did that day after day after day, and then we'd go back home and do it again the next day. We wanted to finish out and help the residents close out for their loved ones, and we would stay as long as they needed us to stay. Our green ribbon represents the camps. We worked in the camps of Camp Mystic, and that color represents the girls, what they wore for their clothing throughout the process. It was very humbling to be there. A lot of statues and memorials there, and everyone was very respectful. It was very quiet, and with all the places I've been, probably the saddest place I ever was.
One of the task force leaders for Missouri Task Force 1. So my plan for this afternoon is to go have lunch with my wife and 3 of my grandchildren, and then I think they have plans for me in the afternoon to be in the pool, so I'll be heading that away shortly. The deployment, we were proud to be able to help the folks in the state of Texas. Because this was a very rough situation in the fact that it very quickly transitioned from rescues to recovery. But the men and women of Missouri Task Force 1, all 85 of us that were out there, I'm very proud to have led this group of folks that did over 450 miles on a river that's 110 miles long. So it's been quite the trip, and we stand ready to do it again, whether it's in the state of Missouri or anywhere else in the United States.
All right, folks, you're listening to Mark Alford's Capital Recap. When we come back, we're diving into artificial intelligence, AI. We sat down with AI expert Congressman Jay Obernolte with his insight into AI. You won't want to miss it. We'll be right back. You're listening to Mark Alford's Capital Recap. Welcome back to Mark Alford's Capital Recap. Thank you for being with us today as we talk about some amazing folks in Missouri's 4th Congressional District. Let's dive in now to AI. Artificial intelligence. Some of you may know we are on the Appropriations Committee now, and we've recently used our role to direct the federal government to modernize data for AI processing. As a committee, we're encouraging agencies to utilize commercial AI solutions to really accelerate the data preparation and entrance operational efficiency through generative AI tools. Also, we're on the Small Business Committee, along with Appropriations, and we had a bill named the Small Business Technological Advancement Act. We were able to lead the charge in advocating for making SBA loans, Small Business Administration loans, able to be spent on digital tools like AI. Before this, they weren't able to spend money on that. Well, let's hear from the expert. Here is our conversation with Congressman Jay Obernolte on all things AI. You're one of the first persons I met when I got to D.C. In fact, your wife is my wife Leslie's mentor or big sister, whatever they call, and we've really learned a lot from you guys. Thank you. I want to start with the AI issue because everyone is talking about artificial intelligence. You're an expert in this field. You have helped train us in Congress as to what to expect in the next years and really even months. It's developing so fast. How big is artificial intelligence now in the world?
Well, it's going to fundamentally transform not only our economy, but our society. But that does not mean that it is going to be a force for evil. I think it's going to be something that's hugely beneficial. It's going to be disruptive, but technological revolutions are always disruptive, most recently with the internet, but going all the way back to the printing press. That was very disruptive, but I think disruption can be a force for good. And I think ultimately we're going to look back on AI as something that is going to be one of the best tools for empowering the growth of human productivity and the dissemination of human knowledge that mankind has ever come up with.
Is it going to replace humans?
Well, in some senses, it's going to, and I know that that's one of the things people worry about is job displacement. If you look back on the internet, there certainly was a large amount of just displacement caused by the internet, but it created far more jobs than it displaced, and I think that that's ultimately going to be true of AI as well.
What are some of the other downfalls or potential things we need to look out for?
Well, this is one of the problems we have with AI. There are a few topics that we legislate on that, like AI, have been informed by 50 years of science fiction and pop culture. So if you ask the average American what they think the chief hazards of AI are, you'll get an answer out of a Terminator movie where an army of evil robots rises up to take over the world with their red laser eyes. That's not what we worry about, but what we worry about taken together is equally consequential. We worry about things like the use of AI to potentially spread mis and disinformation. We worry about the AI being used for people for cyber theft. We worry about AI in a national security setting being used by our geopolitical adversaries to target our critical infrastructure. We worry about the ability of AI to pierce through personal digital data privacy and de-anonymize data that's been anonymized. So all of those things taken together are equally consequential to an army of evil robots. But these are things that government and Congress in particular have an obligation to prevent. And so I think that this has been our goal when we think about the role of the federal government in regulating AI. You have to have a reason for regulating. If you are just regulating for the purpose of creating regulation, I think you've embarked on a fool's errand. So this is the context in which we're looking at AI regulation is what are the potential hazards of AI? What are the government's responsibilities in mitigating those hazards? And how specifically can we fulfill those responsibilities?
One of the things you mentioned was misinformation, how AI might play a role in putting out misinformation. And yet at the same time, we're striving against censoring speech. How do you reconcile the two, allow for speech, even if it's generated by AI?
Well, it's a great question. This is a topic that we have almost an entire chapter in our upcoming AI task force report dedicated to. On the one hand, there are uses of AI to create misinformation that I think everyone can agree is not okay. And I'll give you one concrete example, what we call non-consensual intimate imagery. That's when, for example, a school-age child uses AI to superimpose their classmate's face on a pornographic body and pass around a movie of that. And that's something that millions of American youth are having to deal with right now. That is not okay, right? That's a violation of not only their privacy, the rights that they have to their own likeness and their reputational harms that occur when you do that. But as you say, you can't ban the use of AI to do anything, to fake out anything, because that impinges on our First Amendment right to free speech. And we want to make sure that we don't stifle the use of AI to do that, because AI is an incredibly powerful tool to human expression. And we also get into areas where there are conflicts between the use of intellectual property and copyrights and the use of AI. And I'll give you a concrete example that one of the senior executives from Disney was sitting right here on this couch a couple of weeks ago. We were discussing this issue that they fear the use of their trademarks in people using generative AI to create images in movies. We got into this discussion about theoretically someone, I mean, perhaps one of my political opponents, using generative AI to create an image of me standing next to Darth Vader with Darth Vader having his arm around me. They might do that because we understand that Darth Vader is a powerful symbol of evil in our society, and the image of him with his arm around Congressman Jay Obernolte conveys the political belief of the creator that my actions are evil, as evidenced by the presence of Darth Vader, right? This transcends Darth Vader as a character in a Disney-owned movie. And so this is an issue that we have to navigate. It's very complicated. But fortunately, this is not brand new territory for us. We have hundreds of years of experience in applying this doctrine of free speech to the doctrine of expression, right? And figuring out where those limits are. And I think that our judicial system is up to the challenge of navigating this with respect to AI.
Will individuals start trademarking their own image and likeness so they would be protected?
Trademark is a kind of a term of art. So the answer to that is probably no. But the larger question is, do people have a right to their own likeness and a right to control the use of their own likeness? And if so, where does that right originate and who enforces it? And so that's something that we're going to have to look at, not just as a society, but as a U.S. Congress, to try and figure out how those intersect. Is it okay for someone to create an image of my next door neighbor doing something that he never did without his permission? Does that right change when it's an image of either you or me as public officials? And the courts have ruled on that latter question resoundingly yes.
When you're a public figure.
Yeah, we're public figures. Therefore, we're going to factor into the public conversations.
But they could use you or I, they could change our image and put us in with Kamala Harris, something that we did not want to be associated with. Is that going to be allowed on the political front for advertising?
Right. The good news is this is not a new topic, right? This is now in the public eye all of a sudden because it's become increasingly easy to do these deep fakes that are harder and harder for people to detect with the naked eye.
It's getting tough now.
But we've had Photoshop now for a generation, right? And so even the way that we in our generation can look at an image and wonder, has that been Photoshop? Because I don't believe that Mark Alford would ever be standing next to Kamala Harris that way, right?
Right.
We are going to have to instill that same skepticism in the next generation when they see a movie of something, Like imagine an era when you can generate just by typing text into a prompt, give me a video of Congressman Jay Obernolte in a ski mask stealing a six-pack of beer from a liquor store, as seen by a security camera. And then you can say in a follow-on prompt, okay, now feature that video with the commentators on Fox News discussing how Congressman Jay Obernolte is really in big trouble this time. When it's that easy to create that misleading
That's possible right now to do.
Sure, yeah. It's in a way that a sophisticated actor might be able to detect. In a few years, it'll be so seamless and so photorealistic that you won't be able to tell it's fake. So the question has arisen, and this is a question our task force has been discussing. Do we require all artificially generated content to be somehow digitally watermarked so you can tell that it's fake? But the problem is that's not going to work for the same reason that requiring watermarking on fake currency doesn't work. The people that follow the law put the watermark on it, and the people that are incentivized to break the law don't. And so you really have accomplished nothing. So really, ultimately, what we're going to have to do is raise awareness of authenticity and provenance. So if you're Fox News, for example, you're going to want to encode your legitimate content in a way that lets people easily verify that it came from you. And that's how you protect against someone trying to generate a fake broadcast of Fox anchors talking about Congressman Jay Obernolte.
Hey, thanks to listen to our Capitol recap. I'm so thankful to be representing you in Washington, D.C., to be your voice and your vote. We will never stop working for you. So until next week, remember, I believe in America. I believe in you. And most importantly, I believe that our greatest days are still ahead. I'm Mark Alford. Good day, and God bless.